I'd like to welcome everybody to the 2021 ABNS virtual conference here in March. I can't believe it's March already and it's 2021, but here we are. So I really appreciate and value everybody's time today. Thank you so much for spending a few hours with us. I think that you'll be pleased, and we're going to make this well worth your time. So let's just jump right in here. We do have a very generous offer from our keynote speaker today. He's going to be giving away 5 books. And so in the chat, this is opportunity number 1 to win one of Matt's books. I'd like to know who can answer first. Which member organization has the first nursing specialty certification on the books? Who knows? Oh, Adele. Nope. Yep, Adele Forrester, it goes to you. That is correct. It is, let me get this acronym right here, NBCRNA. That is correct. Very good.
Hit it first, so.
Oh, who had it first?
Yeah, she's right ahead of me, atop of me there.
Oh, Diane Tompkins. Okay, well, that's okay, Adele. You have 4 more chances to win. I'm sorry, that chat screen flipped by me so fast, I didn't even see that. Terry's helping me with that. I should let Terry. That would be better if I let Terry do what she offered to do. Sorry, Terry. Okay, so Diane Tompkins, you need to email your mailing address to the ABNS office so we can coordinate that for you, okay? All right. Here's our second one, just for a little fun right up front here. How many nursing specialty certification organizations, now we're not talking affiliate members, but how many belong to ABNS? Okay, I see the correct answer. It is 31. So Terry, who's got that? Somebody said it.
31 is Adele.
Okay, see, Adele, I told you you'd have another chance to win.
I knew Adele was going to win a book.
Yes, there are 31 distinct nursing specialty certification organizations that belong to ABNS. So that's very good. All right. Moving right along here, I want to let you know that we're very excited to be able to offer 10.25 contact hours for you today. And you can use 10.25 toward your CAE. I'm sorry about that. We updated that this morning because now we know how long our recorded sessions all are. But anyway, all of them can be used towards your CAE. So 10.25. Live sessions, of course, are going on right now. All the links to everything we're going to talk about today is on the conference website or on our website under the conference tab. So when we look at the membership survey results, for example, all the documents and then some that we're using to talk about that today are going to be there. Everything you want to find is going to be, Robert has it nicely linked there for everybody to see. So those are, and your the presentations and handouts and everything will be there. And then don't forget, we do have to have you complete your session surveys. We'll cut that off. We'll cut that off in a couple of months. We'll give you a couple of months to watch them. So we'll cut that off because we just want to tie it up at some point. But every time you watch us, so you'll have 1 survey today for the entire live session. And then each of your recorded sessions, which I believe is my next slide, you can also find on the same conference tab on the website. And each of those sessions has its own survey. So as you watch the session, they're anywhere between 30 and 45 minutes in length. They are awesome sessions, just like last time. You're going to love them. But each time you watch one, fill out your survey. So it counts toward your total of 10.25 CEs, and everything is there again with them, handouts, PowerPoint slides, everything is there for your review. All right. I do want to just mention our virtual conference. Well, it's supposed to be in Chicago in October. It will likely be virtual. We will be just making a decision on that well ahead, but the dates are October 7 through 9. Okay, so we have a contract in Chicago. Don't know if we're going to be able to be there live or hybrid, but we will be making that decision well in time for you to plan your lives. And we'll also probably be asking you, like we've been doing, for input about how you want to see your meeting and what's your comfort level with traveling and that kind of thing. So we'll continue to do that. But the dates are October 7 through 9. So those of you that like to plan ahead can put those on your calendar now. I do want to quickly recognize our sponsors. We're very, very excited to have some sponsors for this conference. So we have PSI at a gold sponsor. We have ONCC, gold sponsor. We have CertaMe as a gold sponsor. BCEN as a gold sponsor. We have the Center for
Don't hurt yourself.
Center for Nursing Education and Testing, silver sponsor. So thank you very much to the sponsors. That really does help us be able to offset some of the costs we do. There are still costs with a virtual conference, and this really does help us offset and be able to bring you the best content we can. All right, so thank you very much to them. Now, I'm very excited about our keynote speaker. So in session 1 here to kick us off this morning, we're going to talk about, or we're going to listen and participate with Matt Booth as he talks about a positive attitude in a negative world. And who doesn't need this kind of thing right now after the year we've just been through, right? So Matt, let me give a little introduction about Matt. I know you're going to enjoy him very much. Here's the introduction to Matt. Matt Booth. Are you ever in a bad mood? Do you wish you could be more positive? I'll raise my hand. Have you ever had one of those days? I'll raise my hand again. If you answer yes to any of these questions, you're going to be glad you're here. If you didn't answer yes, you might be in serious denial. Our speaker today is a certified speaking professional, an attitude expert, and author. Matt is dad to 8 and 10-year-old boys and married to their mom, who is the lead singer in a rock band, which is actually what my first career choice was, and I didn't make it. So I'd love to talk to her. Matt has been going on stage around the world, including Africa, Japan, England, Mexico, Belize, and all over South America, helping us improve our attitudes. Let's please virtually welcome from Dubec, Iowa, attitude expert, CSP, and part-time groupie, Matt Booth. So Matt, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you take it from here for us.
Great, thanks, Janie. And it's Dubuque, Iowa.
I have a mental block on that.
And that's okay. And when I think about attitude, especially in the healthcare field, I'm always reminded of the old story, an old family story about the vulture and the hummingbird. Now, think about what a vulture looks like. Think of a vulture. Sharp talons and beak and great eyesight. Now, what does a vulture do, or what does a vulture spend most of his or her time doing? Well, they soar around the countryside. They soar over the countryside, searching and looking for rotting, decaying, dead stuff, because this is what they feed upon. Vultures feed upon decaying, dying, and dead stuff. And that's what vultures do. That's what they look for, and that's what feeds them. Now, think about a hummingbird. What does a hummingbird look like? They're little, they're fast, they're fluffy, right? Maybe soft. They have those long beaks, and hummingbirds fly around the landscape, fly around their landscape. And what do they search for? What do hummingbirds search for? Yeah, sure. They're searching for the sweet stuff, the nectar, the sweet things in life, the positive things. Now, the vulture finds what the vulture is looking for, and that's what they feed upon. The hummingbird also finds what they're looking for, and that's what they feed upon. Often, the dying and decaying stuff is right next to the sweet nectar and the positive stuff. They're right next to each other. You see, in the vulture and the hummingbird find what they're looking for. This is their instincts. This is their DNA. They don't have a choice. This is what they look for. You and the people around you, we're not like that. We have a choice. We decide what we look for and what feeds us. You see, your attitude is a way of feeling. It's a way of acting towards a person or an event or a situation. Most people agree with me that unlike the vulture and the hummingbird who do this instinctually, they don't have a choice. Most people agree that you have a choice of your attitude and a choice to what feeds you. And if this is true, if you have a choice, that means it's a skill. And as this group knows, if you have a skill, it can be improved upon. And that's where I come in. I love to help people get practical tips and ideas and strategies on how to live more positively. And no one can be positive 100% of the time. It's just not possible. This is what I do for a living, and I'm not positive all the time. I'm trying to be as much as possible, but I'm not positive all the time. And it's okay to have one of those days, isn't it? Everybody has one of those days. What's not okay, if you don't think about your attitude on a regular basis, and what's not okay, if you let one of those days turn into two of those days. And then two quickly become three, and three become four. And we all know someone. Now, I doubt if it's anyone on this Zoom call, but we all know someone who's had like 5 years in a row worth of one of those days. You see, and that's not okay. Now, if I want to be a vulture or a hummingbird, it's up to me. Anytime I walk into my house, I can find the negative stuff. I can find dirty laundry. I can find bathrooms that need to be cleaned. I can find dust. I can find negative things. Anything I walk into my house, anytime, I can find that if I want to find that. And of course, the opposite is true. Anytime I walk into my house, I can find a couple kids that love me. I can find my wife. I can find the great love in our house. I can find the Bible. So it's really up to you whether you want to be a vulture or a hummingbird. Now, if you grab your handout that we have with you, it's included in the presentation or in the description. I have 5 needs that I've discovered and that I've studied. These are what you need if you want to be a mostly positive person. These are the strategies, tips, and ideas that you need to be a mostly positive person. The N stands for navigating negativity. It's the first thing we will talk about here in a minute. The first E stands for energy management. It's about your personal energy. The second E stands for engagement. This is your relationships. This is living in community. This is communication. The D stands for direction. I've found that people who are positive most of the time, when they wake up in the morning and before their feet hit the floor, they have a plan in mind for the day. Now, this doesn't mean the plan always works out, but you have a plan in mind, so you have direction. And S stands for source of power. We need to believe, people who are positive most of the time, believe in sources of power bigger than themselves that help them serve others and love others, give them hope in the bad times, and keep them humble in the good times. So those are the needs that we have. And just as if I was in person, I would do a little bit, I am in person, but if we were in the same room together, I would do a little bit of an introduction like that. And then I would probably look around the room and take any questions if somebody had a big question right away. And if you have any questions, here's how we'll set this up. You can put them in the chat. Janie's going to moderate them, and we're going to have opportunities to ask them. And again, I put my email in there. So if you have questions after this program, I would be happy to talk with you on the phone, to email back and forth, even to set up a Zoom call. This happens often after I do a program, just like if we were in person and I was on stage and we were all in the same room. Afterwards, I would talk to you in the hall or on the bathroom break or a coffee break. So I want to continue that. So if at any time you have any questions, you can put them in the chat. And if we don't get to them now, we will certainly get to them later. I promise you. The first thing when it comes to being a mostly positive person, and now you can't be positive all the time, but the first thing is we have to navigate negativity. And people find it funny that I'm a positive attitude talker, speaker, and the first thing I talk about is negativity. It's because it's all over the place. Have you looked around lately, especially in the healthcare field? It's negative, negative, negative. Did anybody read the newspaper today? I know there's fewer and fewer people reading the newspaper. Did you watch TV or watch the news today? It's negative, negative, negative. And if that isn't enough, each and every one of us are carrying around a device in our pockets, in our purses. Really cool people got them hooked to their belts. But we've got devices that we've programmed, that you've programmed, Terry, to ring and vibrate and scream and yell at you when there's been the latest negative event, natural disaster, storm. Have you ever been woke up in the middle of the night with an Amber Alert? I mean, this is the world that we live in. A couple months ago, we had an Amber Alert, and it wakes you up in the middle of the night. First thing I did was go check on our boys to make sure they're okay. And there was a white van, I think in Missouri, that took a kid. Like, I don't know what to do. Am I supposed to go stand at the end of the road in Dubuque, Iowa, like looking for a white van? Like, but see, this is the world that we live in. And it's important. If you want to be positive most of the time, you have to figure out how to steer yourself towards the good things and steer yourself, your boat, your ship, your car away from the bad things. Now, we can't do it all the time, but you have to intentionally think about it. So do this for a minute. Let's do an exercise. You can set down your pen and your paper. In your mind, I want you to think of the most positive person you know. Think of someone who's really positive in your mind. You've got them, you've got their name. Get their face in your head. Get their face in your head. Now, when you think about that person, how do you feel? How do they make you feel when you think about that person? Now, I see some of you smiling already, and you can tell by the looks on your faces how this person makes you feel. When this person calls you, how do you feel when they call you? When you see their icon come up on the phone, how do you feel? What about when this person walks into a room? When they walk into the room, how do you feel when they walk into a room? I mean, you feel good, don't you? They make you feel good. If you have to do a project with this person or jump in a car and go on a 2-hour trip or 3-hour trip, how do you feel being with this positive person? Man, it feels good. Now, the second thing, in your mind, I want you to think of a person in your life that's mostly negative. They're a pretty negative person. And I can already tell by the looks on some of your faces that this has dramatically changed, whether you're smiling or frowning or how you look in your eyes. Now, this negative person, when you think about them, how do they make you feel? It's different, isn't it? What about when they call you on the phone? Do you think, oh, now what? Do you swipe them? Send them to voicemail? And what if they walk in the room? What if somebody walks in the room, this negative person walks in the room? How do they make you feel? Do you just pretend you're busy? How about if you have to do a project with this person, or if you have to jump in a car and go for a 3-hour trip? How did they make you feel? See, it's dramatically different, isn't it? And this is what I'm talking about when we talk about navigating the negativity in your life. Okay, think about yourself. I'm going to ask you a few questions. Norma, you got this? Okay, I see the beautiful beach in the background. So think about yourself. When other people think about you, how do they feel? How do you make them feel? How about when you call someone, how do you make them feel? Now, let me ask you this a different way. Do you get a lot of voicemail? Just asking. How about if you walk into a room, how do you make others feel around you? They feel good? Is it positive? Is it negative? You know, anybody can bring joy into a room, right? Anyone can. Some people when they walk into the room, and some people bring joy to the room when they leave the room. But anybody can bring joy into a room. And if you have to do a project, or if you have to jump in a car with someone else, how do you make them feel? So this is really about navigating the negativity. And that's the big step. Most people don't consider our attitude an asset, and they haven't really thought about it this way before. Janie, are we getting any questions? Do you have any thoughts or comments so far?
I just put a thing in the chat to everybody that, you know, as you're asking us to think about that, I said, sadly, I can think of more negative people than I can think of positive people. It was so much easier when you said, now think of a negative person. And somebody wrote back and said, that's because the negative ones leave a stronger lasting impression than the positive ones do. And you're making me think about like when I used to work with this one person in particular in the hospital. And when I saw them coming, if they hadn't seen me yet, I would literally duck around the corner and go the other way. So I don't know if anybody else has that same feeling, but I can so relate to what you're saying. So I don't know if anybody else wants to chime in here, but somebody just said in the chat, I just realized I think a lot more about the other people being negative or positive instead of how I make people feel. Self-awareness in this regard is something I need to work on, I think, said someone. And then somebody else says, I love this idea of thinking about ourselves and how we might make others feel very insightful. And I make a conscious effort to spend my time with positive people. And then somebody else said, negativity is like cancer. When it enters a room, it spreads like wildfire.
Spreads, it certainly does.
Yes. And then somebody else just said, I have sometimes been able to turn the negative person into the positive. So that's great.
Yeah, that's excellent. And really what I want to get in your mindset is that attitude is a skill. So often people say, well, I'm not a positive person. I'm just realistic, or this is just the way I am. But it really is a skill. And if people want to improve upon it, they can. Now, another question some of you may be thinking is, well, I can't be a hummingbird all the time and see the positive and everything. I mean, do you guys know fake people? You know fake positive people, don't you? I kind of call it the Viagra positive person. It's like, you know, like the person that's always positive all the time. Hey, hey, Scott, how you doing? If I was any better, I'd be twins. What, like we know people like that, and we know that's just not sustainable and that's not healthy for you. On the other end, you can't be a vulture all of the time. You can't go through life finding all the negative crap everywhere that feeds you. Now, the example of my house, when I walk into my house, I can find dirty laundry anytime I want to, because we have 2 boys, and it's just, that's living, right? We have dirty laundry. You're always going to have dirty laundry. But you have, sometimes when I go in, I kind of am like a vulture. When it's piled up, I say, okay, guys, we have to get a system. We have to figure this out. And your voice changes and the tone changes, but it's not, you can't be like that all the time. And it's healthy to like get upset and be mad at yourself sometimes. Now, write this ratio down. This is ratio. Sarah, you got this? I can see you're going to grab your pen and you're going to write this down. She's probably typing in her device. It's the 3-to-1 ratio. This ratio, I study a lot of positive psychology, and researchers, Barbara Fredrickson, came up with this as best as I can tell the first time. You need 3 positive thoughts for each negative thought that you have to be a mostly positive person. So you need 3 positive thoughts for each negative thought that you have to be a mostly positive person. So it's a 3-to-1 ratio. Now, I don't know exactly what it's like for each of you in the mornings, but I can tell you what it's like to wake up on a Monday in February in the Midwest. And I live like a 5-minute walk from the Mississippi River. My office is just 5 minutes from the Mississippi River. And this can happen, especially a couple of weeks ago when it was like -20 for 13 days in a row. So you wake up in the morning, before my eyes even open, it's really easy to say, oh, it's Monday. Oh, it's so cold out. Oh, I have to go to work. Oh, is that the kids? Oh, crap, it's picture day. And that's Joey, my what? Oh. Like, real quick, before you even open your eyes, like how many negative thoughts can that be? Like right away. That's like five negative thoughts before I even open my eyes on a Monday morning. And if I have 5 negative thoughts, according to the 3-to-1 ratio, how many positive thoughts do I have to find real quick to counteract those? How many would I have to find?
15.
15. So if I start my morning like that, where am I going to find 15 positive things right away?
Yeah.
You're just starting the day wrong. Now, when you wake up in the morning, what can you say? You can tell yourself, wow, I woke up again. It's cold. It's Monday. Yes, it is Monday. We have a whole week to get things done. It's cold outside. Well, I'm thankful that I have a roof over my head. And anyone on this Zoom call, if you don't like the temperature of your house, all you have to do is walk over to the thermostat. I mean, think about that. Some of us don't even have to go to the thermostat because we have this silly app on our phone that runs your furnace. Like, can you imagine the world that we live in? And then I have to go to work. Well, you can reframe that. You get to go to work. And then like kids, I see 2 kids that I have. I don't care, picture day. I don't care how bad of a mood those kids are, how much work they can be. I'm amazed that somebody actually like mated with me to have kids. Like, that's incredible. And then she's still here with me. Like, do you see how you have to change that? So I want you to keep in mind that 3-to-1 ratio. You don't have to be a hummingbird and be positive all the time, 100% of the time. That's not even healthy. But you can't be the vulture and always see the cloud in every silver lining. So you got to find that mix, and the mix is 3-to-1, and that's 75% of the time. You try to be a mostly positive person. Thoughts, questions, or comments?
Matt, we do have a comment that's pretty cool. Tony says that he did his first real report in grade school on hummingbirds. They have to consume hundreds of times their body weight to maintain their metabolism. That's like the need for more positive than negative to keep the positive going. And he says, I'm going to strive for hummingbird every day.
Great. I'm writing that down. Could you send me that report?
Yeah.
I'll cite you. I'll start citing you.
Tony's report. Yeah. I don't know. Tony, can you send him your report? Your hummingbird report?
From grade school. I love it. So this is really that first part. People who want to be positive need to learn to navigate negativity intentionally. It's a skill. Now, I know you're going to have to go see your dad who's maybe super, super negative. I know there's some things and people and events you can't control, but you got to start intentionally steering away from the bad stuff and steering towards the good stuff. If you want to be a positive person, navigate that negativity. If you look around and that positive person that you're thinking of a lot, they do this. I'll bet you they do this. And then the negative person that you thought about, they don't do this at all. So if my father-in-law watches like 5 hours of cable news per day, and I talk to him, I can hardly talk to him on the phone because it's so negative, negative, negative. I don't care what station you listen to. I don't care if you have a D or an R behind your name, if it's Fox, if it's C, I don't care. But you have to navigate away from that negativity so it doesn't consume you. Cool. The first E is about energy management. If you want to be a mostly positive person, you have to think about energy management. A big thing that I found when I coach and when I work with people who get into a rut and are extremely negative, the number one thing right now I've found is people are not getting enough sleep. The studies that I've read, and you guys probably mostly know this, the studies that I've read, it's almost half of our country is sleep deprived. It's like 48% of our country isn't getting enough sleep. On your piece of paper, write down how many hours of sleep you need per night. See, some of you are doing it. Some of you are looking at me like, I don't know. A bunch of you put 7 to 8 hours because that's the industry standard. And you know that because you've been tested upon that. I really believe, and I think that people who are positive most of the time have invested some time and some thought into how much they sleep per night. I've studied this, I've worked on this. I need to average 7 hours of sleep per night over the course of a week. Now, I've got a silly Fitbit watch. It's not that expensive. It looks cool. This monitors my sleep each night. And when I wake up in the morning, it gives me a sleep score, monitors my oxygen, approximate oxygen levels, and it gives me a sleep score. Now, I know if I'm not getting enough sleep, I get cranky, I get edgy. We know how important sleep is. Sleep is the Swiss Army knife of health. If people are getting enough sleep, it fixes their body, helps your mind, it helps so much. But you would be amazed. And when I tell this, people on the calls or people in a room, they're like, I know sleep is so good for us. And then I'll get somebody and I'll say, okay, do you know how many hours of sleep you need per night? And they're like, well, 8, everyone needs it. And I said, I don't care about everyone. I want to know how much you need per night. And if you're getting enough, because this is huge when it comes to energy management and your positive attitude. Because face it, life takes a lot of energy. And to be a positive person takes even more energy. And sleep is a huge part of this. I know tons of people, lots of times these are guys who wear like this lack of sleep as a badge of honor. They're like, well, I don't have time to sleep. I'm Superman, or I'll sleep when I'm dead kind of thing. And I'm like, yeah, no wonder you're so cranky all the time. You're not getting enough sleep. So think about this. If you need 8 hours of sleep per night, if someone needs 8 hours of sleep per night, let's say they get up at 6 o'clock, which many people get up way before 6. But if you get up at 6 o'clock and you need 8 hours of sleep per night, what time do you have to be sleeping? 10, right? Honestly, I don't know a lot of people who are going to bed at 9:30 to be asleep by 10 and getting up at 6. I just don't know, because this is how it goes and how life is. Like, we rush through the day and we're working with kids and going to work and trying to eat right and exercise and all this stuff. Finally, you get home and you put all the kids to bed and do all your stuff, clean the house. And it's like 9 o'clock and you say, oh boy, let's just sit down and talk for a little bit. And you talk and maybe have a beer or something or a glass of wine. Next thing you know, you're binge watching a show till 1 or 2 in the morning. This seems to be more and more often the regular way people are operating in our country. And you stay up till 1 or 2. And I don't know if any of you are like me, but you get to bed. I don't fall asleep right away. I sit there and think about things. And then we're getting up at 5 or 6 and starting the whole process over. So if you want to improve your attitude, one of the best things you can do is make sure you get enough sleep. So I'm going to challenge you on this Zoom over the next 30 days. I want you to monitor. I want you to figure out how much sleep you're getting, kind of track it somehow. The Fitbits, probably half of you have some kind of fitness tracker already. They're not that expensive. Monitor your sleep, see how much you need, see if you can get it, and see if it makes a difference. Second thing under energy management. Oh, she's showing me, you're showing me the sleep score. What's your average sleep score?
Seven hours and 15 minutes.
What's your sleep score?
Last night it was 616, but I average, sleep score anywhere from 85 to 91.
Wow, that's incredible. You're doing great in your sleep. Most people don't know that they have a sleep score on their Fitbit app. And I'll ask them, and they're like, yeah, I sleep fine. And then you look at it and they're getting like, their sleep score is a 60, which is not good. I try for the high 70s is what I'm trying to get. So we can dive into that. And I'm going to challenge you for the next 30 days. If you want to improve your attitude, one of the best things you can do is improve your sleep. It is the Swiss Army knife of health. Now, and I know a bunch of you are thinking, well, my spouse has a bad attitude, or my boss or my coworker. One of the first things you can do is you can check and see if they're getting you. You'll know. You're like, I bet you're not getting enough sleep. Many of you have spouses who possibly have sleep apnea. We're not going to go down this sleep apnea rabbit hole too far. My grandpa had sleep apnea. He had his first heart attack when he was 56. My uncle, his son, had sleep apnea, had a heart attack and died when he was 56. And my dad has sleep apnea. So this is a big deal. And this is one way, a quick way, if people who are negative a lot, they're not getting enough sleep. This is one way you can really fix this. You can help them. Second thing on energy management. Gosh, you guys are very engaging, and thank you. Another thing about half of our country isn't doing on a regular basis. And no, there's not vodka in this mug. I'll let you guess what's in the mug. What are most people not doing? And yes, of course, water is a big one. I see exercise in there as well. The two big things right now I see with energy management are sleep and dehydration. I don't know if you've ever been dehydrated, clinically dehydrated. I've never been diagnosed, but on a mission trip 4 years ago to Africa, we went to Nigeria. We were out in the bush with our village from our church, and we ran out of our bottled water. Now we had the water bottle filters, and we could drink their water from their well, but we had to filter it, and it's really hard to drink. See, and everyone's taking a drink now. Some of you probably have a Bloody Mary in there. It is Friday. But make sure you get enough water, okay? When I wasn't diagnosed as dehydrated because there was no doctors around, it was horrible. It was a horrible experience. And if you're low on water, I don't know how you can expect to go around and be a mostly positive person. Try to be a hummingbird when you're low on water. Now, I'm guessing this group, most of you know this. This is a reminder for you about the sleep and the water, and reminders are good. Sometimes I feel like I'm a professional reminder. I don't even know if that's a word, Janie, is it? It is a word. Okay, professional reminder. What questions or thoughts do you have? So under energy management, I want you to make sure you're getting enough sleep. Monitor it for 30 days. Find out, do you need 7 hours? Do you need 8 hours? Tom Brady sleeps 9 hours a night. He goes to bed at 9, he gets up at 6. Coincidence? He's the best football player ever? I don't know. So monitor your sleep and then make sure you're getting enough water. Thoughts, comments, or questions?
Well, we had people saying they needed anywhere from, we had one guy that said he only sleeps about 5, or he thinks he needs 5 to 6 hours of sleep, or that's what he gets. I'm not sure. But anyway, it went from anywhere from 5. And then we had one person say, I need 15 hours of sleep a night, which I thought was great. Most people are in that 7 to 8 hour area.
Sure.
But some people said 10.
Great. So the important thing, everybody's different. The important thing is that you know. And then you're keeping an eye on it, and you're intentionally trying to build that skill and be a more positive person.
Mhm.
We're going to jump right into the next E. This is engagement. This is about relationships. People who are positive most of the time understand that we were meant to live in community. They have healthy relationships, and they communicate effectively. The number one issue that I see right now when it comes to engagement and when it comes to communication is most people are listening with the intent to reply rather than listening to understand. So this is the big issue that I'm constantly aware of, and that's the hot button right now. And there's all sorts of factors that go into this with technology and time and coronavirus. There's all sorts of things. But the number one issue right now is most people listen with the intent to reply. We are not listening to understand. Now, especially in the healthcare field, I know like my really good doctors and nurses, when they're asking me questions, they're listening fully to understand what I'm saying. They don't step on my sentences. They don't talk over me. They're not listening to reply. My good healthcare providers are listening fully to understand what I'm saying, because there's so much more that goes into it than just your words and just your message. So this is the big thing right now. I want you to listen to understand. And here's where we're at a year into this pandemic is people are mentally fragile right now. And when I say people, I mean you. I don't mean other people. I mean you and me. We're mentally fragile. We've just gone through a year of stuff that we don't know what to do with. We don't know how to respond. And it's been going on a year, and this is a long time. We're mentally fragile because of the velocity of change that we've had to go through. We're mentally fragile because of the uncertainty. Like everything is so uncertain. It changes and it's uncertain again. And then this coronavirus has complicated the crap out of everything. It's made everything so complicated. So we're drained. We're mentally fragile. We're being judgy of other people. A couple months ago, I walked into the grocery store in Dubuque, Iowa, and I had my mask on. And I come around the corner, and there's one of my buddies in the grocery store without his mask on. And I'm like, dude, Brad, just put your mask on. Where's your mask? He's like, well, it's my right. No one can make me. And I'm like, yeah, I know all of this, but you stop being a jerk. There's people around you that have compromised immune systems. Put your mask on for the 10 minutes you're in the grocery store. And this didn't end. And I'm like, stop being a moron and put your mask on. Okay. And so it didn't end very well. And then we leave, and I go jump in the car. On the way home, I get a text from my wife to pick up milk, and I forgot to get milk at the grocery store. So I stop in the gas station, fill up my car with gas, run in to get a gallon of milk, and guess what? I forgot my mask. Okay, so I run into Casey's gas station, and I come around the corner, and I bump face to face with this older woman, and all of a sudden she's looking at me, and I don't have my mask on. Guess who's the moron now? And this was in the span of 15 minutes. And she was judging me. 15 minutes ago, I was judging my buddy. You see, all of this has taken such a toll on our mental capacities, on our brain. So I want you to remember that people are doing things and saying things that they wouldn't normally do and wouldn't normally say. So I want you to cut them some slack. When I say people, I mean you, I mean your family and your friends, your coworkers, clients, patients. So we are mentally fragile. So under engagement, those are two things I want you to take away from this program is listen to understand. I want you to listen to understand. And I want you to remember people are mentally fragile right now. What comments or questions do you have as I take another drink of water?
I think you're so right, Matt, about people doing and saying things they wouldn't normally do. Somebody here in the comments is saying, completely agree. It's, and somebody says we all need to be kinder and, give each other a break. You don't ever know where somebody else is coming from,
And this is true on a regular basis, but even more so now because things are so strange. It's just weird. I've only seen my mom twice since March. That's weird. I see my mom all the time. She's just afraid and she's holding up. She just got her second vaccine shot. They're gonna wait another month before they come see us. And all of that is okay, but it makes all of us mentally fragile. So just remember that. A couple other basics. I'm gonna yeah. Go ahead.
There is a question about the listening to understand. How do you suggest people practice listening to understand? I feel changing that habit would be difficult. Do you have suggestions?
Sure. So you have to create a culture. You have to create an environment wherever your community is, where you're communicating, that you don't. So we're all in a time crunch. So if we have a meeting and there's 10 people on the team and we're all in the room, each person on that team wants to be heard. So often we only have 45 minutes for this meeting. So everybody wants to make their point and state their case. So when somebody's talking, we're thinking about how we're going to make ourselves look when we talk, how smart we want to sound, how we can reply to that, instead of just sitting there and being and really trying to take in all the ways that person is communicating and really trying to understand them. Try this at a meeting next time. If you're in a meeting like that, I want you to take a notebook and a piece of paper. And when the meeting starts going and it gets normal, I don't want you to say anything. I just want you to sit there and listen. And I want you to write down what people are saying. Just sit there and listen and try to understand the room and try to understand the people in the room. And eventually what's going to happen is they're going to turn to Josie and they're going to say, hey, you've been really quiet. Or Sarah, you haven't said anything. What do you think about this? Because it's very unusual for people not to want to bust in, talk over other people's conversations, and to be heard. It's very unusual. So take a step back. My grandpa used to say, if everybody would slow down one step, we'd get way more accomplished in our world. If everyone would slow down one step. So it's going to be hard to control others, but you can certainly do that.
Yeah. A couple other comments on this, Matt. Somebody says they ask more questions and try to reflect back what they hear and notice when you get distracted and work to re-engage. And then somebody says in graduate school, when I was learning how to do qualitative interviewing, I was required to take a mindfulness class to learn how to listen, to understand, rather than listening to respond, as you said, Matt.
Great. And those are all good techniques. So Janie, what I just heard you said is that someone took a class to learn how to
Listen
see how you can ask. Is that right? Is that what I just heard?
Yep. She said she took a mindfulness class to learn how to listen to understand. Yes.
So am I understanding you right, Janie, that someone just took a class, they took a class when they were in college to listen to understand?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I was listening.
Yep.
To understand, but it's hard. It is really hard to do that because we all want to be heard, and we seem like we only have so much time often to let our opinion.
We do have another question about asking, what are your thoughts on civility?
Can you explain that? Who asked that?
This is from Sherry.
Sherry, do you want to explain? I'm not sure exactly what you mean. So I'm really trying to listen.
I'm happy to do that. Can you hear
Here
me,
she is.
Matt?
Yeah, we sure can. Go ahead.
Okay, great. There's been a lot of conversation about civil discourse, and having the ability to agree to disagree, but more important is to just be civil, in our opinions, and our decisions, and how we engage with each other. So just wanted to know your thought around civility, especially as you speak around listening to understand, and also about, healthy engagement and also healthy communication. So has civility touched any of these areas at all?
Yeah, I think so. And that's a great question. My own mindset is I want to learn and I want to improve and I want others to be heard and I want to be heard the best that we can. We've created, I really believe in our country still, the majority of people are really good people in our country. And there's a small, maybe 10% of the people are really crazy. But those 10%, they seem to have really loud voices right now because of social media and because of the unrest, civil unrest in politics. Those voices seem really loud. But I want to believe that the majority of people, 90% of the people, want to do something meaningful that makes sense to them. They want to give value to others, get value in return, go home, hang out with their family, go to a ball game, cook some steaks, have a glass of wine. This is really about, it is listening to understand others. Now I imagine, and I even know people that I don't get along with very well, but I can learn from them. And if they say something, I'm like, oh, listen, I'm going to that jerk's got a point. He's kind of a jerk, but he's got a point. And maybe that will change my mindset going forward. But I don't feel like we're doing that right now as much as we should be, or at least the loud voices, the smaller percentage, aren't doing that.
Matt, we have another comment that says, sometimes it helps to remember there's really no right and wrong. There are pros and cons always. Knowing you don't need to convince someone of what is right can help you want to understand the other person's perspective.
Totally agree. I've said for 20 years, when I present in a room full of people and I'm on stage, there's so much more knowledge in the audience than there is on stage. I don't know however I got in front of the camera, but I feel the same way right now. You guys are so knowledgeable and you have so much good insight, way more than I do. And I'm going to go through this chat and I'm taking notes, and this is amazing and awesome. All right, I'm going to jump into direction. What do we have left, Janie? A little more than 15 minutes?
We do. We have about 23 minutes.
Okay, well, cool. Let's do this then. Under engagement, here's 3 things that I think are important that I want to help you out with. And it's getting back to basics. Is it important to get people to like you? Is it important for others to like you? Just nod your head yes or no if you think it's important to get your coworkers to like. What's the fastest way to get somebody to like you? What's the fastest way? You can put it in the chat if you want. You can write it down. Get to know them is good. Food, give them food. Who said that? I want you to mail me some food.
No kidding.
Trust is good. Agree with them. Be considerate, be kind, be interested in them, be present, be kind. These are all great answers. These are not the answer that I'm looking for. So I did a program back in BC before COVID. I did a program, and it was to 500 real estate agents in Arkansas. These are 500 of the best real estate agents in the state of Arkansas. Like, they're high, top-notch salespeople. And I asked them the same question, and it was crickets. No one could answer it. By far, the fastest way to get somebody to like you is to smile, by far. Now, if you travel around, okay, so we're going to put this disclaimer on it. Now, how can you tell if I'm smiling? Okay, this is a strange world that we live in, isn't it? We're disengaged, we're smiling. We know that these are going to go away in some form or fashion, or mostly here in the next year. I'm guessing that You know, when I travel to Asia and go to Japan, and when you travel a lot, people wear masks all the time. So we're going to have these in some form. It's not going to be probably like it has been for the past 6 months. So can you tell if somebody's smiling under this mask? You can look in their eyes, can't you? You can tell by their eyes. My sister-in-law is a nurse here in Dubuque, and she has what our family knows as resting bee face. I'm not going to say it out loud. Resting bee face. She's got like a scowl on her face, like consistently. And in a normal year, she's very unapproachable. You would never ask her for directions. You wouldn't go say hi to her. She hates the mask because she's in the grocery store. People think she's now approachable because they can't see her frown under her mask. It drives her crazy. So you have to remember that this is a different world that we live in. But by far, smiling is the best way to get somebody to like you. Smiling is the universal language. Everyone understands it. No one misinterprets a smile. It's like your business card. It's like a high five or knuckles from across the room. It's your welcome sign, a smile is. I mean, a smile is so important, and we're forgetting about that. We're losing this in the basic one-on-one interactions. We're forgetting about it. We're not training people on it. We're not talking to people about it. Put the masks aside. A spaceship could land on the roof of my building right now, rip the roof off, suck me up into their spaceship, put me on a table, like to do an experiment on me. And if I smiled at them, they might not kill me. That's like how important a smile is. And we forget about it. There used to be 20 years ago, I'd go into a company, there'd be one person in charge of making sure everyone else in the company is smiling. I don't know if you remember that person. Like, they would have a clipboard with a little smiley face on it, and their job was to walk around and make sure people are smiling. This is how important it is. I feel like we've lost that basic communication of a smile, and we need to change that. So the fastest way to get somebody to like you is to what? Smile. Don't forget that. You can teach kids that. You can teach others this. We can get around the mask. You can say, oh, I'm smiling. Have you ever seen the masks with the clear plex? Like, so you can see that they look a little creepy, I think, but you can see them smiling. So the fastest way to get somebody to like you is what? Smile. If that's the fastest way to get somebody to like you, what's the fastest way to get someone to trust you? You can put that in the chat if you want. Fastest way to get somebody to trust you. I see some of you got it. You're in me. It's eye contact by far. And this is an art form that seems to be going out the window. Eye contact is by far the fastest way to get somebody to trust you. And we're losing it, and we're losing trust, and trust is suffering. People don't know how to make eye contact anymore. People are looking at everything but the person when we're talking to them. So Zooms are different, right? Because it's harder to make eye contact. What do I look at? Do I look at Sarah or Brian or Sherry or Rebecca? Well, if I really want to talk to Janie, I got to look right into that camera because that's the eye. That's the eye. Work on eye contact and practice that. And I could do a whole hour program just on eye contact, but I think you guys understand what I'm saying. It is eye contact. It's the fastest way to get somebody to trust you, and trust is a big deal. What do we say about someone who won't like look you in the eye? What do we think? They're like shifty, aren't they? And what do we say about shifty people? You can't trust them. You can't trust them. So eye contact. Now, the third thing that I want to talk to you about in this little piece. So the fastest way to get somebody to like you is to smile. The fastest way to get somebody to trust you is to make eye contact. The third piece, when understanding others, is about body language. Now, I'm not going to get into mirroring or, if I cross my arms, I don't like you, Norma. I'm not going to get into that. Or if I look up to the left, I want to go on a date with somebody. I'm not going to get into all of that stuff. And you can dive into that. What I want to say about body language is your body language needs to match the message that you're giving out. So your body language needs to match your words, the content of your message. If they don't match, we believe the body language. It's like a default. Humans believe the body language. Well, not just humans, animals too. So we have a neighbor dog. Her name is Cassie. Cassie's like a big yellow lab mix. Well, Cassie's a great dog and she just loves people, but she comes into our yard and she takes great big dumps, not just little dumps, but big ones. And guess who gets to clean all that up most of the time? Dad does. Yeah. So if I saw Cassie right on the property line, so Cassie's monitoring my body language because she's a dog and this is how they communicate. If I said, Cassie, come here, Cassie. You're such a dumb dog. Come here, Cassie. I don't like you at all. Come here, Cassie. Now, my body language and my message, do they match? No, my body language is welcoming her. Come on, Cassie, you're such a smiling, energetic, but my content was, you're a dumb dog. I don't like you. Come over here. I might rub your nose in the poop. Like that's my content. So when Cassie sees that, she comes right over because she's reading my body language. The opposite is true with Cassie. If I said, Cassie, I love you. As soon as I say that, Cassie runs for her porch because she's reading my body language. My body language didn't match the content because I said, I love you, Cassie. Humans are exactly the same. When the body language doesn't match the content, our default is to listen to the body language. So if I walked into your home office right now or into the office where you're watching this, if I walked in right now and Cheryl, I walked into your office and you said, hey, Matt, how are you doing? I'm awesome. This is probably the best day of my life. I love virtual programs so much more than being in person. Like, I mean, did you hear my content, Cheryl? It was, I'm happy. I love my life. This is so great. But what's my body language? Anything but that. You'd be like, let's get a cup of coffee, or what's the matter? Cheapers. Now let's try it the opposite way. So I walk into your office again, Cheryl. You say, hey, Matt, what's up? This is horrible. This is the worst day of my life. I can't believe I'm doing a virtual program in my office instead of being somewhere like meaningful. I haven't been on a plane and and that's hard to do. That's extremely hard to do. But you see how it freaks people out. It's a little spooky too, isn't it, when that happens? So I want you to remember that the body language needs to match your message, or people will default and believe the body language. And what does body language look like now? We live in a world where we tell everyone they're so important and we value everybody's relationships and friendship. But the entire time we're doing that, we're looking at another screen. Yeah, hang on. You're important. And then what do we believe? What do the other people believe? So keep that in mind when it comes to engagement and relationships and listening to understand. The fastest way to get somebody to like you is to smile. It's been that way for eons, and it's going to continue to be that way. Fastest way to get somebody to trust you is just make good eye contact. And then body language. The message needs to match the body language. If they're not congruent, we default and we believe the body language. Have an exercise for you. Pull out your device, since we're talking about devices. You can do it right on what I'm looking for is your calendar app. So if you have Google or Outlook, whatever you have, open up your calendar, and I want you to create an event. So make an event, and I want you to create it for the 5th day of April, the 5th day of April at 8 o'clock in the morning, I want you to make the 5th day of April, title of the event is Smile and Eye Contact Day. That's going to be the name of the event, Smile and Eye Contact Day at 8 o'clock. And I want you to check, I want you to do this for a minimum of 12 months. So on the 5th day of each month at 8 o'clock in the morning, I want you to get in an alarm that goes off on your phone or your computer. And it says, today is Smile and Eye Contact Day. Now, all I want you to do, all you're required to do is just make note of that. And I want you that day to focus on looking in people's eyes just long enough to get the color of their eye and smiling. That's it. You don't have to explain to them that it's eye contact day. You don't have to do any of that. Just look at someone long enough to get the color of their eye, smile, and you can walk away. Now, some of you will do this with your family and you'll say, hey, family, guess what tomorrow is? Tomorrow is Smile and Eye Contact Day. All I want you guys to do is focus on smiling and eye contact tomorrow. Some of you will do it with your team at work, and you'll make it Smile and Eye Contact Day with your team at work on the 5th of April. It will start. And I want you to do this for a minimum of 12 months. I'd like you to check the forever box is what I'd really like you to do. And then some of you will even do this. You have access to emails like company-wide emails. And you will make the 5th of every month Smile and Eye Contact Day. That's your assignment. Thoughts, comments, or questions?
All right. You can unmute yourself if you have a question. You can put it in the chat. Somebody says they really love this idea. It's already on my calendar. I think it's a great idea. What else you guys want to know? Oh, we've got Matt here.
I'm always fascinated when you're in a room with people, quickly you can tell where the silence becomes uncomfortable because you can feel it. But on virtual, it's harder. So I'm always wondering how long I could just stand here and not say anything until people got uncomfortable.
Well, we have a question. Do you think this is more of a challenge for a very introverted or an introverted person?
Do I think what is smiling?
And eye contact.
Smiling eye contact?
Mm-hmm.
Sure. And this is why we talk about it, because it's a different challenge for a lot of people. Some people do eye contact naturally. A lot of people have to work on it. Now, when I started doing this and really making eye contact, and again, I can dive into, we could do a whole hour program on just on eye contact. It took me like 30 days of just making eye contact with people. I'd walk around for 30 days and I'd make eye contact with them and I'd be like, eye contact, 1, 2, 3, eye contact, 1, 2, 3. After 30 days, I quit saying it out loud. So it takes a lot of work. It took me to really work on eye contact. It took me like 3 months before I didn't even have to think about it. But really it was a year investment of my time in thinking about it, which is what I have you do at least once a month before I don't have to think about it as much anymore. So yes, it's challenging. And I think if you're an introverted person, I think that's even more challenging. There's a lot of speakers and friends of mine who may seem like they're extroverts because we're on stage, but lots of times people get off stage and they're introverts. So yes, it can be more of a challenge for different people. Absolutely.
I think it's interesting when you are trying to, maybe you're in an airport, not so much anymore, or wherever, at the store, wherever, and you're trying to make eye contact with somebody and smile or whatever, and they will not make eye contact with you, or they look at you and they quickly look away. And, that's, that always makes me feel kind of interesting. Like, oh my gosh, I hope they're okay. Or, I hope, what are they, did I do something that made them mad or whatever? So but like you said earlier, you can only control your own behavior, not everybody else's. So.
Great. Okay, I'm going to jump into direction, which is a D, and I'm going to get you these two quick, D, direction and source of power. Direction, this is your plan. And I think most of you have a plan. You've done some sort of goal setting. You've figured that out. You work on your goals. We know that like a third of our country does New Year's resolutions right around January 1st. Do you know that 80% of those New Year's resolutions are all but forgotten about by the middle of February? Those are the statistics. But I think you should have a plan. You should have written goals. And there's three things that I've found that will help you be successful with your goals. Write them down, review them once per month, and carry them with you. I've been carrying written goals in my wallet for 21 years now. I have a list of my written goals. It's easier than ever to carry your goals around you because everybody is carrying one of these. You should have your goals on your phone in some kind of Word document or some kind of goal app. Another challenge for this group under direction, let's do this right now. I see some of you have your pens and papers. I want you to write down, when you get to work, write down the 3 highest and best uses of your time at work. So go ahead right now and do that. Just jot down real quick the 3 things that you should be doing at work that are the highest and best uses of your time. And again, this is such a great group. I love you guys because when I do this virtually or in a room full of people, half the time people just look at me and they're like, I don't even know what you're talking about. But we should know, if you want to have direction at work or in your life, you should know what are the 3 highest and best uses of your time. Mine are speaking, doing what I'm doing now, selling my speaking, which if any of you think I might be a good fit for your company, let me know. And then creating something. Creating a video, creating a book, writing an article, creating something, working on a story. Those are the 3 highest and best uses of my time. Speaking, selling my speaking, or creating something. Now, that doesn't mean that's all that I do, but I know for a long time, I had it right up on my wall. Speaking, selling, creating. I know this, and this keeps you focused, and that's about having direction. If you don't know what those are, I'm going to challenge you to figure those out. And this is a good way of communicating with your team and your boss to make sure that you're doing the right things that you should be doing. S, source of power. People who are positive most of the time. And if you want to be positive most of the time, you need to have a source of power bigger than yourself, something that you believe in, that helps you serve others, helps you love others, helps you have hope, especially in this whole time, what we've gone through. Now, there's many, many sources of power. I've had people write me letters, send me email. I have a whole folder in my email about different sources of power and what that means to them. My 3 main sources of power are God, country, and family, in that order. This doesn't mean this has to be your sources of power, but these are mine. I believe I'm a love child of God and a follower of Jesus. This helps me in hard times, helps me love other people, helps me serve the world. We live in an amazing country, as crazy and as out of whack as it can seem right now. And sometimes I've traveled enough to know, I don't know if we live in the best country in the world because I haven't been to every country, but I've traveled enough to know that people will switch places with us. Just about anyone I've met would love to live in our country. And I love our country, and that gives me a source of power. And then my family. I love our 2 boys and my wife and my extended family, my parents. But those are all sources of power that keep me grounded and help me stay positive. So I hope you know your 3 sources of power. Again, it doesn't have to be those, but you should know what your sources of power are and what are you doing to connect with those sources of power. So an example is I just had a guy yesterday tell me, he's a Christian, that's his source of power. I said, great, well, tell me about what it's like to be a Christian. He says, well, I go to church on Christmas and Easter. I said, that's it? That's it. I said, do you read the Bible? Do you help people? Do you serve? Do you pray? What do you meditate? No, that's my source of power. Christmas and Easter. Like, okay, I hope that works for you, but that wouldn't work for me. To be a positive person most of the time. And remember, it's a skill. I think you need to navigate negativity. Get towards the good stuff. Try to get away from the bad stuff. Think about your energy management. Get enough sleep. Make sure you're drinking enough water. Engagement. When you engage with others, really try to understand. We were meant to live in community. Remember that. Direction. Write your goals down. Review them once a month. And when I say that, I'm not talking about an hour once a month, just like 5 or 10 minutes. And then carry your goals with you. Figure out what your 3 best uses of your time and your skills are when you're at work. And then have a source of power, because it helps you serve and helps you love others. Attitude is a skill because it's your choice, and skills can always be improved upon. Remember the old story about the vulture and the hummingbird. Try to be a hummingbird as much as you can. This doesn't mean that vulture can't come out, and that's actually healthy sometimes, and it's healthy for the environment. But your choices are often there side by side, the good stuff and the bad stuff, and you get to decide what you feed upon. So 5 lucky people, right? Janie, are going to get a copy of my book somehow or some fashion. I think you get your emailing or your mailing address to Janie. I will sign them and ship them out. They're also available on my website if you want to go on, or if you'd like to buy 10 of them for your team, you can just email me directly and I'll just ship them to you. And again, if you have any questions whatsoever, probably the best way to get to me is matt@mattbooth.com. And shoot me an email. I may not get back to you right away, but I promise I will get back to you, because part of my life's mission is to help others be as positive as possible, and it's important to me. We can set up a Zoom, we can talk on the phone, we can exchange emails, whatever works best.
Okay, Matt, we're getting a lot of comments here as we end the session. Fantastic session. Thank you, Matt. Great session, engaging talk, really helpful. Thank you so much for your time. Thanks, Matt. Thanks for the encouragement. Thank you. Great session. Great presentation. Enjoyed the session. Thank you. Lots of these, great presentation, perfect timing for me. I really appreciated it. And yes, we are going to give 5 books away. We've already given 2 of them away to the lucky winners this morning, Diane and Adele. And you did send me some of your content ahead, so there could be some things in the next round of trivia questions pertaining to your talk here this morning. So we'll carry on and we'll get those 5 books out. And yes, the winners will need to send their mailing address so that we can give those to you, Matt, and you can get the books out to them. I know I speak for all of us when I say what a great presentation. I think this is a really great way to start off our meeting today and to end our work week. I love the exercise where we've all got this on our calendar now. Perfect. So I think that it's been a really big hit, and we appreciate your time and would like to thank you. And as Matt said, if you've got any questions, I know he means it when he says get back to him or reach out to him. He's here to help us all. So thank you.
Thank you very much. If I can ever be of service, let me know. And stay positive and test negative.
That's awesome. All right. Thank you, Matt.